Welcome everyone to the Omniverse of Nick and part 19 of What If Daryl Died Instead of Merle. But before we get into today's episode, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the Omniverse of Nick so that way you can help make this channel bigger, better, and get more stories on here to tell that are action-packed like this one and many others have been. This one so far, more or less, since it's not over. But anyways, let's recap the tale where we left off. So, we've gotten into the first half of how the Merle and Beta spinoff will begin, with Jadis more or less forcing the now unmasked Beta to join, or she literally would just kill him. They're both in the same boat with nothing. So while they both are travailed off, Beta very much against his will, but still having a plan of his own. Meanwhile, at the communities, everyone's at a loss. They can't figure out what to do now. They've tried searching for Beta forever, even near Woodbury, not going there fully. But Rick says, honestly, at this point, they should just give up. He's likely dead. Andrea most likely shot him, or one of them most likely shot him, in a fatal area. And if they or him were to have gone to Woodbury or attacked them or something, they would have known by now. Sure, there's a possibility he's just way too far for them to, find, or he might just be hiding out for a long time, but they have not gotten anywhere finding him. So at this point, there's just no point in searching anymore. They should just stop. And as for Woodbury, Rick thinks that since they've been there for over 7 years and done something good with it, and the communities have had trouble and forced them back from it several times, maybe they should just give up Woodbury, especially if it's going to be in more trouble and they're going to have to leave it over and over again. They should make these communities their new overall goal, because it'll do wonders there too. Andrea and Michonne, while feeling very skeptical about leaving the situation with Beta down, really? Rick's right, and Michonne's with Rick, so obviously they're going to agree, even though they disagree, but that's besides the point. And even though Woodbury's name for over 7 years was in the fonding memory of Daryl and his passing, and to make Merle better as a person, a leader, and overall just, do it for his memory, Merle, it was just, Rick's right. Rick is right. They've been there, they've done the best and beyond that they could with it, made so much, and done so goddamn much. But Rick is right. It's best to finally leave it go and move forward, especially pushing Merle's influence outside of a community once and for all. But Merle says when they do go back, before they leave, he's going to make a speech, and there's also something else that he must do. And Rick, he obviously isn't going to care. Merle's pretty much the leader. So, yeah, they go back to Woodbury, and Merle would give the town a speech. Everyone who went with him and everyone who stayed, about how much the town has meant to him for over 7 years, how much it really pushed him to hold on to the memory of Daryl and move that forward, how much it inspired him to be a leader and a better person than he was. But now it's finally time to move forward and push that influence, to stretch Daryl's memory forevermore, including with all of themselves. And the whole town would utterly cheer for Merle's name, as well as honor the name of Daryl Dixon. So honestly, they'd be okay with leaving. They have done so much here that, yes, it's going to be sad to leave, obviously, but they're ready to say goodbye, finally. And Merle, before everyone leaves, Merle says they don't have to wait up for him. There's just something he must do alone. And so, we see a familiar location, the feed store and the depot area in which Merle canonically was killed, and Daryl, in this story, was killed. Merle goes back there to pay a visit, one last time, ever since Daryl was killed there. He goes to the grave of his brother and remembers. He remembers his brother saying that he just wants his brother back. He remembers him taking up the mantle to sacrifice his own life instead of Merle, who wanted to do it so badly, but he just couldn't bring himself to fight his brother back. But honestly, something very, very good did come out of it. It made Merle truly redeemable. And for the first time truly in his life, Merle sobs utterly for Daryl, wishing that he had changed sooner and wishing that he could have stopped his brother and they both could have changed together. And Merle, he truly is glad that even though his brother did pass, it made him a better person overall. And with that, he goes to the one unfinished touch of this area, which hasn't been touched since they were last there. Daryl's crossbow sits by a tree farther away from the grave. It was just left there because Merle didn't know what to do with it. He was just so broken. But after this, he says one final goodbye to his brother and buries Daryl's crossbow straight next to his brother's grave. Takes up his own upgraded medieval-looking crossbow with the scope, and with that, Merle and everyone from Woodbury travail their way to the hilltop and all the other communities and begin to stretch the influence there and make those communities their new home. But what now? Oceanside has officially been taken care of because of Beta, and, well, the junkyard has too, but that was more or less, shunted aside anyway. Francis is now part of the group for once, and we have a huge ton of survivors, along with the Kingdom and Hilltop being around. Well, Hilltop still was around even after it was destroyed when Maggie returned. Once again, besides the point. But what's going to happen now with the story, even with these changes? Well, we're going to get into that. First off, Eugene and Milton, we get again in another story for like the third time pretty much. Except Milton is actually alive here, like my Sophia story. And the whole thing with both of them working together with the tower, the communications, and Eugene's conversation with the fake Stephanie would all go like it did in my Sophia story, except it's not going to be so very freaking soon like that story, because we're already past pretty much season 10 territory. So it's more or less great speed up on the work, since it's not just Eugene, but it's still, canonically like how it should be. So who goes to the Commonwealth? Well, here's the group. Eugene, Milton, Jesus, and Abraham and Sasha. Because of the story and how it's gone and everything, I feel that because of circumstances and just for clarity in the story overall, and specifically since I've never had anyone besides Milton join him before, Jesus, Abraham, and Sasha is a really good put on, and you guys are really gonna dig that later on. As for Virgil, Merle and Andrea are going to be the two that go with him to Bloodsworth Island to supposedly get a bunch of stock, even though they won't need it for the Whispers now, but they could use it since they expended a huge ton of stuff against the Horde and the army. But once they get there, it doesn't even take Virgil trapping and drugging them, because Merle and Andrea definitely would not allow it. I'm not saying Michonne was weak in this situation. I'm just saying that because of especially how Merle and Andrea have been, Merle would know instantly that something's up. And Andrea would point her gun in also unison because she is obviously with Merle together. They've been together for over 7 years. And she says to Virgil that he better start explaining what's going on right now, or it's not only going to be Merle who puts him in the ground. And Virgil, at this point, he admits what he was going to do to them. He shows them the cell with the people and everything, and how, messed up he is, and pretty much he's forced to, basically, and says there's no weapons here, but they could still look around and he'll help them, like he said. And once they get to the boat and look around that section, what they see in there, Merle and Andrea, terrifies them. Beta's mask is sitting on a mask holder on a ledge at the part of the boat, the side of the boat. Beta's mask is sitting there like it's just chilling. And this, playtime is so over now. Merle, instantly after seeing this, is much angrier than Michonne was with the Rick situation, grabs Virgil and shoves him against the wall, demanding to know where this mask came from. Now believing fully and completely that Virgil is a Whisperer spy and Beta has to be around here or something. But Virgil, honest to God, he doesn't know anything about this, just like with Rick. He's pretty much freaking innocent. And since he didn't drug them or anything like that and didn't prove more of a monster he was, even though he said what he did, Andrea believes him, and even though it's against hers and Merle's better judgment, Virgil really hasn't done anything wrong. But that still doesn't excuse the fact that Beta's mask is here. That cannot be a coincidence. Which means that Beta is not dead. No siree. Well, I mean, we already know that. But still, now they know that Beta is not dead. And he is either still here or he's out there and he could still be planning revenge. And they gotta do something about this or they're gonna be doomed. He could be having a huge horde right now without them knowing. Merle thinks for a second and says, yes, while this is a very big concern and something needs to be done about it, he doesn't agree with the fact that they should do it. Merle says that if there's anyone that's going to put Beta in his place once and for all, it's going to be him. Merle is going to find Beta and deal with him personally. But Andrea is all against this plan and says, what are you talking about? You, me, and Rick are all equally responsible for the fact that Beta is still alive. We should all be doing this together. We should get Rick and everybody else, continue the search, especially out here. But Merle says, yes, Andrea is right. While they are all equally responsible, Merle feels like it's his more or less duty as a true leader and how he dealt with the Whisperer situation and everything like that and his plan with Rick and everything, it's ultimately all on him. And if there's anyone who needs, wants, and ultimately must take down Beta, he feels like the mantle is his. And as much as Andrea is against this and says so, she does kind of agree and understand where Merle is coming from. Really? He is making a very valid point. He is the one who made the plan. He is the one who went about it all wrong. Not that it's his fault or anything, but she does agree with him how he's saying that he feels like he should take up this mantle alone for a change. Just like he wanted to with the governor. More or less like she remembers with Dale making the own decisions thing. It's sort of like that, yet not really, if you guys get what I'm saying. But Andrea says he had better come back alive, especially to their child, which is Daryl Jr., for those of you who haven't paid attention. But Merle says he is coming back, and Beta will die, because he's Merle freaking Dixon. And with that, he bids Andrea farewell. But don't worry, because this is the tie-in and the completion to the introduction to the Merle and Beta spinoff. But if you guys haven't seen the community posts for when I made them, and all of the spoilers and everything, which probably many of you have, I'm not going to say the name, and I'm not going to spoil anything yet. For those of you who haven't seen it. If you want to or don't, that's on you. Just know that's going to be tied in now. Andrea just looks down for a second while Merle pretty much travails off to find Beta, and she decides to just go back to the communities like Merle said. But will she hold to this decision? If she doesn't, will she make it back to the communities in one piece? Will other threats find her along the way? And what about Beta? How did his mask end up there? Was it a situation like Rick's? Or was there more to Beta in the CRM than Rick could have ever became? And how will the true spin-off introduction play into effect? And will the communities and everything else be okay with Merle not around? Find out next time. You guys didn't think this was the end of the video, did you? Well, the Omniverse of Nick has a new feature. A sneak peek at what's next to arrive.